Welcome back, everyone. You're listening to What on Earth is Happening here on Oracle Broadcasting. I'm your host, Mark Passio. My website, whatonearthishappening.com. I was just about to get into what we've created for ourselves here on the Earth, what we've turned the Earth into in its current form, in its current incarnation. And I've listed this on slide number 6 for today's show. Earth in its current form is a prison for thieves. A prison for thieves. You want to know what kind of prison planet this is? This is the prison for thieves. It's a cosmic prison, and it's where thieves go to work out an understanding that it's not okay to be a thief. Since every form of wrongdoing that could possibly be conducted against another being is a form of theft, there's a reason people are enslaved here. There's a reason that Earth is currently a prison. Doesn't have to be, can be a paradise if we choose. We can use our free will to make that happen. Not enough of us want that. Why is the Earth a bad place? Why are there so many bad people? Because more people want it to be that way than not. Get over it, folks. Get as angry about me saying that as you want. We do it to ourselves. We have made this condition. We. Yes, we. As in collectively humanity. Comprised of all the I's of humanity. All the individuals. When you put all of that together, that forms a big we. There is a finite amount of people living on the planet Earth. And I'm referring to all of those individuals as we, meaning every being that is a human being living on the planet. The collective we, quote unquote. We have done this to ourselves because more of us want to live the aggression ideology. They want to live in a way where they're still conducting violence against other people or condoning violence against other people. Committing and condoning violence. So human beings are confined to the Earth. You hear, one of the things I do agree with some of these strange New Agey concepts is that the Earth is quarantined. Absolutely true. You're not going anywhere. Anywhere. They say death is no cure for ignorance. Believe it. Know it. You're not getting out of here till you get the lesson. Till you understand the law. And again, this has nothing to do with me, folks. Nothing whatsoever. It's not because I say it's this way. I understand this. That's all. And in that sense, I am absolutely not special. I am not any more privileged. I have no magical powers that anyone else lacks. Okay? There's nothing that inherently makes me different that I can grasp this and somehow it magically eludes other people. I am not different in that capacity. I just happen to understand it. I happen to have a grasp of the non-aggression principle and the one single spiritual law. That's it. And the one law, all natural law, can be summed down into one phrase. 2 words. 2 words, 9 letters. 9 letters with an apostrophe. Don't steal. That's it. That's it. Understand what your property rights are. Understand what they're not. Don't take that which doesn't belong to you. The end. The end. I don't know if anyone has actually really condensed it down that succinctly. That's what natural law is. That's what the whole Earth right now in this current incarnation is about. It's a prison for thieves, all people who want to continue to be a thief, who want to continue to steal, who want to continue to advocate theft. And you're all here to come to an understanding with creation, with natural law. Understanding, meaning You're going to continue to be held bound in this prison, chained here, by your own free will choosing. Nothing else is holding us in this prison. Nothing else is continuing to make this be a prison except our own erroneous use of free will. That's it. We don't know how to consciously create, and therefore, through our ignorance, we're creating unconsciously. We will continue to exist imprisoned on the prison planet called the Earth, the theft prison, the thief prison, okay, until we stop committing theft and stop condoning other people from committing theft. Stop condoning that action. Stop committing it ourselves and stop condoning that other people be allowed to be thieves with impunity. That's it. It doesn't really get any simpler than that, folks. That's about as simple as I can boil it down in simple English language terms. If you can't grasp it, there's something wrong with your brain. It's because you can't ask for a simpler definition. What is natural law? Don't steal. That's it. Understand what's yours. Understand what's not yours. Stop taking things that aren't yours. That's natural law. That's it. And because we won't live by that law, we're in a cage. That's why we're in jail. We're in a cage, we're in a prison, collectively, because we want to continue to be thieves and not understand that we're taking that which doesn't belong to us, and we want to continue to condone that act. That's it. So, concurrent to this understanding, last week we talked about one of the biggest groups of thieves in the world, all governments. All governments, no matter what kind of government it is, no matter where it's at on the face of the earth, no matter what culture has brought it into existence, no matter what time period of history. Every single government that has ever existed on the face of the earth, external government, let's call it, okay? Because there is real government called internal government, meaning that you control your own thoughts, emotions, and actions, and that's real. Every illusory form of externalized government, the claim of authority on other people. Every single person who is doing that or advocating it is a thief. And they're a slave. It is the ideology of slavery. It is one of the two religions of slavery. Government and money. The two religions of slavery. Fake money. Again, you got to understand there's a real version and there's a fake version. Just like there's a real government which is internal, there's a fake version which is external. The real one eye is spiritual enlightenment. The fake one eye is all forms of what we call currencies. We talked about this group, the archonists, the ones who accept that there is such a thing as masters and slaves, all people who acknowledge government, condone its existence, condone its continuity, are archonists. We talked about what the word anarchy really means last week, and I put that in slide number 4. The word anarchy comes from two Greek words, a prefix and a noun. The prefix an, in Greek it's spelled alpha nu, okay, means when you tack it onto the beginning of a word, without or the absence of, not present, in other words. Lacking, not present, absent, okay, without, not having this. However you want to word it or look at it, that's what an, a or an means. So an, at the beginning of anarchy, means without, or not present, or the absence of. And then the second part, A-R-C-H-Y, archy, comes from the Greek word, the noun in Greek, archon. A-R-C-H-O-N, transliterated into English. In Greek, this would be spelled alpha, rho, chi, omicron, nu, archon. Okay? So, what is an archon in the Greek language? It means a master, as in one who owns and keeps slaves, or a ruler, as in a king who has subjects that must obey his whims, that must obey his authority. He owns other people. He is the owner of other people. That's all an archon is. If you believe in government, you are an archonist. That means you believe certain people are masters, other people are slaves, certain people have rights that other people don't have, and certain people have a moral obligation to obey the whims and commands of those who are their masters. And that's what all government is, if you're being honest with yourself. If you want to be a liar, if you want to be a person who is ignorant and who wants to ignore reality of what it really is, go and tell yourself that's not what government is. It'll never make it true. You can go and believe whatever you want about what you think government is, but what it is a claim of authority on other people's lives. That's it. It's the simplest way of putting what government is. And how it's perpetuated is right in the word. Governa, governare, or guberna, gubernare in Latin means to control, mens, mentis, and yes, that is the second part of the word etymologically, whether you understand that or acknowledge it or not. Yes, it is. It means to control the mind. Mens mentis means mind. So government literally is to control the mind. And that's how they get people to believe this nonsense that doesn't exist. That's an illusion in a diseased human psyche. By controlling their mind. By influencing and manipulating the mind. So all anarchy means is the absence of masters. No masters. Or you tell people, well, there's no masters here. There's no masters and rulers. There's no masters and slaves. We don't have masters and slaves relationships here. Okay? That doesn't exist here. And what would people say? Well, you have a free society then. You have freedom. You have equality under natural law. Everybody has equal rights. Nobody has rights that other people don't have. That's called freedom. People living according to the non-aggression principle. Natural law. But no, people think this means chaos. It can never happen. We can never have this condition. That's crazy. You could never have a state. You could never have a condition on earth where there are no rulers and masters, where there is no authority. They actually believe this nonsense. They actually believe their own nonsense. That could never exist. This is the natural spiritual condition of humanity everywhere, no matter where intelligent life exists in the cosmos. This is the natural state. Anarchy. No masters, no rulers. The only thing the entire cosmos is ruled by is natural law. That's it. You are ruled ultimately by the all. If you want to call that God, go ahead. It's meaningless to me. That term, people get all hung up on it. Whether you want to acknowledge that that's the creative force, the underlying unified field aspect of creative intelligence that is inherent to the universe, however you want to word it, it doesn't matter to me. That's your business. This is an intelligent, creative field that we are living in. It is the authority. That's it. That means the totality of everything has put natural law into effect, along with free will. Natural law is the deterministic component to the universe. Free will is the chaotic component to the universe. That's it. That which really cannot be controlled, because we always have the ability to make a choice at any given time. So you have the randomness component called free will in conjunction with the deterministic component called natural law. And that's what we create through. Do we guide our free will in conjunction with the law that ultimately governs and binds us and determines what the experience we get as a result of our behavior is? So you could say, well, then free will becomes an illusion. If you want to look at it like that, does that mean you're a slave? That you're ultimately, somehow in a big cage called the universe? I don't look at the universe like that. This law exists because it is the balance principle that is put here for our betterment and our spiritual uplift. That's what it's here for. It's not here to torture us. Natural law is here to care for us. It's the only authority we need to bend the knee to to live according to the non-aggression principle. Stop putting your ego over other people's rights. Stop believing that you can condone theft, and somehow that's okay. That's called justification. You're trying to create a right that doesn't exist by saying it's okay for violence to be conducted here. No, it's never okay for violence to be conducted. Don't get that confused with the defensive use of force. Understand, the non-aggression principle goes hand in hand with the self-defense principle. If you're being accosted with violence, you have an inherent right already to respond with defensive use of force. That's it. It's so simple, it's stupid. It's so simple, you have to be such an idiot not to get it. I mean, people should be horrifically ashamed of themselves. Don't pat somebody on the back and go, oh, dear, there. It's so terrible that you don't get it. No! Hammer them. Tell them it's not okay for you to condone this. It's not okay for you to support violence. You're not right. You're not in the right. You don't have the right. You never had the right. Get out of your ego. Get out of your head. Start understanding what violence is. Start understanding you don't have a right to it. Start understanding what wrongdoing is. Start understanding you don't have a right to it. Stop acting like a child. Stop acting like an ignoramus. It's not okay. It's not okay. This New Age approach needs to go, folks. It needs to go. It's junk. It's junk. It doesn't work. People are not getting the message. I'm telling you, I went to this Mind, Body, Spirit Expo here in Philly, and it's full of sadists, full of people who advocate the continuance of government and think it's okay. They don't understand the non-aggression principle at all. At all. At all. And they call themselves spiritual. They call themselves spiritual. They don't get it at all because they bought a lie. They bought this junk lie that enlightenment is all about my happiness. It's all about me being as elated as possible at all times of the day and never letting anything disturb my field of energy around me so I can hold the space. You know what to do with that? You know where you can cram it. Okay? It's bunk. The whole thing is just I call it the last cul-de-sac before the gold mine. They're not getting spiritual gold. They think it's never about getting angry about anything. They think it's always about being happy at all times. Let me tell you something. Enlightenment is not about your happiness, folks. If you believe that, you believe New Age bunk religion. Enlightenment is about getting pissed off when you see that we've built a prison here out of all infinite possibility that we could have created. It's about seeing all the dirt that exists in the world and recognizing it for what it is and being honest about it. And it's a destructive process. It means the truth is coming in and destroying the lie. And you're seeing, as the room fills up with light, that there's feces smeared all over the walls. Okay? That's what enlightenment is. This New Age idea of enlightenment is junk. Junk. And it needs to be rejected. The light is not here to make you feel so elated and happy that you're like you're on drugs. Because that's what these New Agers are like. They're so disgrounded. They're so floating in some spiritual coma that it's like, and it literally is they're on a drug. They have endorphins flooding into the brain from constant meditation and this constant non-engagement with true reality. What is an endorphin, folks? It's an endogenous morphine. They are on drugs. That's what a right brain, imbalanced brain is all about. You're pumping so many endogenous morphines or endorphins into the bloodstream and into the brain that you're totally in a state of imbalance. Get out of this New Age bunk ideology. It's not true. It's not true. It's another religion to get you to stand down and give up your rights. And these people all believe in government and believe, oh yeah, we should have government. Yeah. All advocates of violence and theft. Every one of them. And just because you don't have the imagination to envision a world of people living without this sick institution of violence doesn't mean it isn't possible. That's your limitation of your imagination because it's been stifled and retarded. It has been stopped from flowing. That's the problem with the world, is that the imagination has been retarded in people. Look up the definition of the verb retard. The word retard is not a noun. It's a verb. It's an action. It means to slow down, to stop the forward progress of, to hold back. Understand the real meanings of words instead of what you think it means. So we did an experiment. I know I've talked way more than I even wanted to. I wanted to get to the phones. Let's go to the phones. We have several callers hanging on. That's all I'm going to say. That's my year in review. Okay? How's that? This is what people need to know and understand, and stop being polite about it with people. That time is so far past to be polite about this with the state of the world that it's in now. That if you're still in the new age baby spoon, I'm going to baby spoon these little candied apples, candied carrots to little baby. If you're still in that approach, I don't know what to tell you. I think you have been retarded yourself. Your spiritual understanding has been so slowed down if you think that's what we're here to do. We need to be putting this in people's faces directly and unapologetically. Why? Because this position is the right. That's why. If you have the right, do not be fearful to bring it forcefully to people. Not violently, but forcefully to people. Forcefully. Full of force. Use your will to speak it into creation. And say it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And never stop saying it because it's true. I want to hear if anybody did the social experiment that I gave people last week, that I suggested. Do people have an accurate understanding of simple words? Or are the definitions and the meanings of words completely obfuscated in their mind? Now let me give you my result before we go to the phones. I did this with 4 individuals around a table. Okay? And I gave them a slip of paper with the word anarchy written on it. And I gave them a second slip of paper with the phrase, no rulers, no masters, written on it. And I asked them on each piece of paper, just flip it over to the back and write down one single word that you equate in your mind, word association, you associate with this word or phrase. Don't think about it too much. Give me your snap, intuitive gut response of what word jumps into your mind when you see this phrase or this word. Now, not one person wrote down the same thing. And that's what the experiment is actually all about. It's to see if you know that when I gave you the slip of paper anarchy, and then I gave you the slip of paper no rulers, no masters, I actually gave you the definition of anarchy. So if you wrote down no rulers, no masters, or on no rulers, no masters, you wrote down anarchy, you would be correct. Simultaneously, you would also be correct if on both pieces of paper you simply wrote down the word freedom, because that's what both of these states are. So the 2 correct responses, but see, you can't write down no rulers, no masters on anarchy. So you would have to phrase the absence of rulers or masters in one word, which would be anti-authoritarianism, which is a long word. But that would probably be an acceptable response for both. If you wrote down under anarchy, anti-authoritarianism, and if you wrote down under no rulers, no masters, anti-authoritarianism, you'd be correct. But think about it. What is the state of anti-authoritarianism? That means there is no rulers and no masters. There is no master and slave relationship. That is this condition called freedom. So the real right response here, if we really want to be honest, there's only one right response to write down for both pieces of paper, and that would be the one word, freedom. That's it. So that didn't happen for anything except no rulers, no masters. Everybody writes different things for anarchy. Most people write down chaos. One person wrote down guns. One person wrote down, I guess it was something to the effect of, like strife or, it was some sort of an equivalent to chaos, like, uprising. That was it. Uprising. Okay. So I got a couple different words for anarchy too. I got chaos. I got uprising. I got guns. I don't know how they sort of equate the word anarchy and guns in their mind, and that's okay. If you think that's what it's going to take to get to that state, maybe, that's somewhat accurate, unfortunately. But almost everybody under no rulers, no masters writes down the word freedom. They seem to understand that intuitively enough, but for the word anarchy, they can't make that equation because they've been conditioned through endless repetition to believe, through the media and the mind controllers, to believe that anarchy means chaos. It does not mean mayhem. There is no accurate definition of the word anarchy that means chaos or mayhem. So let's go to the phones. If anybody did this, feel free to share your responses that you got. And if you didn't, anything that you want to talk about the future of humanity is fair game for today's show. So here we go. Ivan in Phoenix, you are live on What on Earth is Happening. Welcome, my friend.
Hello, Mark. Can you hear me good today?
Yes, you're coming in loud and clear. Thank you.
Okay, good. I went ahead and held on to taking my break until now, so that way I can make sure you can hear me clearly. Okay, yeah, I did the social experiment yesterday here at work. I had about 36 participants.
Awesome. That is awesome, man.
I broke it down evenly. That way I could have 18 on each.
Okay.
So
what were your results?
I wrote down, all right, let me start with no rulers, no masters. I had 11 that were pretty good answers, and then the remaining 7 were, just people who had no idea. They were kind of like love, selfish, relief, school, college.
Well, let's say love isn't a bad answer for that. That's fine because I also agree that is the state of love. Absolutely. So that's pretty good. All right. So how many wrote freedom? How many wrote down freedom?
Okay, I had 4 who actually wrote down freedom out of 18.
Wow, that's pretty interesting.
You can make it 5. You can make it 5 because 1 wrote down no slaves. So
okay, well that's 2 words that they kind of went against the instructions, but okay, all right.
Well, I only told them basically just write down the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay.
So I wasn't as detailed as
I instructed people to write down only 1 word when I did it, so that confined their answer on the other side. But that's okay. So, and 1 person wrote down love. That's an interesting and what I would call a correct response. What else? What other responses did you get for that phrase?
Okay, under no rulers and no masters, these 4 I lumped together, which were pretty interesting. I got lost, confusion,
whoa. Right, hold on. Take them one at a time. Lost. Imagine
lost. With no rulers and no masters. They pick up lost.
Wow. Like a pet. Do you see the worldview of people?
Yep.
Some people? Literally like a domesticated animal. That's the first thing that came to their mind. They didn't even associate it probably with themselves, but it tells you what they really think about themselves. A domesticated animal.
And then
lost. Oh man, that is telling. I feel very, very my heart just goes out to somebody who's in that mindset. Lost. Yeah. Wow. Okay, what other words?
Another word was confusion.
Wow.
So the same thing as lost.
Wow. And see, here is the actual internal state, okay, that they believe you have to have an external master to keep from happening. Confusion is actually the result of internal non-rulership. When there's internal anarchy, that's a bad thing. You need internal monarchy. controlling the self. See, and they equated the state of no rulers and no masters with confusion externally in society. There would be confusion everywhere if we didn't have rulers and masters. Imagine that this is where people's mind is at. At least this was the majority. These 4 people put things down like this. What were the other 2?
All right, crime. So that's, I guess, an effect.
Only rulers and masters prevent crime. Of course. You need a master for there to be good behavior. You need a master for there to be nonviolence. Absolutely. Didn't you know? Oh, these people are sick. Sick. Okay, what else?
And then the last one was, again, they put 2 words, but no brain. So I guess brainless. If you have no rulers, no masters, brainless.
Oh my God. Folks, do you see, this is a great example. Do you see where some people are at? Can you see where most people are at, I would say? I mean, this is brainless. You are brainless if you believe that you're not a slave. Wow. Wow is all I can say. You know, folks, another thing that people get very angry at me for saying in person often, too, is if I ever were reunited with some of the dark occultists that I worked with in my past, I absolutely would not in any way want to do anything violent to them. I would absolutely not want to even speak harshly to them. I would go up to them. I would offer I would extend a hand of good greeting and friendship, and I would say, "Well done, sir. I never would have believed it was possible." That is how I would greet my former occultist cohorts, whatever you want to call it. Companions, associates, however you want to look at it. But that is what I would do. I would just say, where you have brought human consciousness, or unconsciousness as the case may be, I never would have believed that it was possible. And I would shake their hand and I would say, magnificent job. Just incredible. As far as just standing back in awe at the work that they've accomplished. Horrific though it may be, it is awe-inspiring. And I would simply say, you have my respect as an opponent, if you will, in this construct. But I don't hate them. I do not hate these people at all. Now, who you can say I harbor resentment and ill will toward, and who I don't think anything good at all should ever happen to, is someone who thinks like that. Someone who thinks like that is a damaged animal. A damaged animal. And if I were there, I would tell them that to their face. And if anybody gave me a response like that, I'd tell them to their face that they are broken. And what broken means is that you've been turned into a domesticated animal. That's what the term broken, to break an animal, means, to domesticate them and make them accepting of their slavery. And that person is broken. You could tell them I said so, if you want. You don't have to. But that's what I would tell them if I was there. And trust me, I'd tell them to their face. If you want to put them on, I'll tell them to their face. Okay? I'll give them my address if they have anything to say about it. So, what responses did you get for Anarchy?
Well, finishing off this no rulers and no masters, I only had 2 that gave the word anarchy, and there was one of them which he brought a smile to my face when he said it, because
he already
knew. He said the government is the government is terrible in this, and people think that.
Well, imagine that, man.
So he had the answers.
Ivan, there's obviously an Al-Qaeda operative there. I mean, come on, somebody who doesn't think they're a slave, put him away. I mean, that's a dangerous person in society. So, okay, what else did people write down for Anarchy?
All right, so now for Anarchy, I lumped these 5 together, and they're your regular response. I had 2 that said chaos, 1 that said mayhem,
of course,
1 mayhem,
Of course.
One said rebel or rebel.
Okay, that's not a bad one. That's better than some. Okay.
And one said criminals.
Wow.
Anarchy based on criminals.
Now, the exact opposite of the meaning. People who are advocating the non-aggression principle and not committing crime, not committing violence, not committing theft, and they are calling them criminal. That's what they are in their mind, because that's how effective the mind control technique of the obfuscation of the definitions of words is, ladies and gentlemen. If you can manipulate language, listen to this very carefully. If you can manipulate language, you can manipulate thinking. If you can manipulate language, you can manipulate thinking. This is why these people cannot think for themselves, because they do not hold in their own mind the accurate meanings of words. They have no definition, no clarity. The world is made of words. Ideas are made of words. If you don't understand the words you are speaking, you are creating unconsciously. And you could be led and manipulated into believing anything anybody wants you to believe or accept. Ivan, very illuminating. Very illuminating. Okay, great.
Well, I had another...
Oh, you got more. Okay, go ahead.
That mentioned, well, this one is more mainstream media kind of, because when I said anarchy or gave them the paper with anarchy, right away two of them put down the word sons. S-O-N-S. So they were thinking of the TV show Sons of Anarchy.
And that's
where their mind went right away.
Yeah, that's the only word that they can equate with it is Sons of Anarchy, as in a TV show. As if that has anything to do with the concept of anarchy. Unbelievable. Right. We are living in a golem. You talk about zombies. The zombie apocalypse is upon us, ladies and gentlemen. It's not coming, it's here. You're living among them. Okay? These are golem creatures. They have been made. They have been molded like clay and just infused with some form of animation that vaguely imitates true life. These are golems. These are creatures. These are zombies. That's what they are. Ivan, thank you so much.
I only had one person that put down freedom for anarchy.
Only one person. And I would shake that gentleman's hand if I were you, and I would go and talk to him. You know, I would become friends with that person because he knows. He or she. Mm-hmm. Was it a man or a woman?
Oh, it was a male.
Yeah.
I kind of already knew the answer he would put because of someone that we talk about conspiracy theories.
Right, okay.
So he was already somewhat awakened, so I wasn't that surprised.
Brilliant. Shake his hand for me. Tell him I said wonderful. So, great, man. Ivan, thanks, man. You put a smile on my face. As horrible as some of that is, that's what enlightenment is about. That's what something that is truly enlightening does. It shows you what's there. That's all it does.
It pretty much puts what you say on the show, you can see it in the real world. It's not just you talking on the show saying, oh, this. Now when you go out here and talk to people and bring these questions up, you're like, it's like, wow, Mark wasn't kidding. He's right. This is how people think.
Ivan, thanks, man. I thank you for doing that, and again, you've really brought it out there for people to allow them to see where other people's mindset is at. This is where the world is right now. So, thank you.
Mark, no problem. I had a few other little notes here if you had just 1 minute.
Sure.
While you were talking about your little summary here in the last hour and a half that you were talking about, you made me think of this documentary. It's little new agey, but the title had the problem and the solution in the title. It's that Tom Shadyac documentary, I Am.
I'm not familiar. I don't believe I've seen this one. I have to check it out.
Oh, okay, yeah. Look that one up. It's a little new agey, but yet the title is what got me because the problem is
who is the maker of it?
Tom Shadyac.
Okay.
Shadyac, he's a big Hollywood director. He's the one who did Liar Liar and a few of the Jim Carrey movies. And then he had some accident and life-changing experience, and he started, going into this direction.
I'm trying to think whether I did see this at some point in the past, but I'll check it out again. I am. Okay, great.
Well, I brought it up because what you were talking about is answered right there. The problem is I am. What's the problem? I am. Because people let things happen where we just So what's the solution?
Excellent.
The solution is I am the solution, because when you start taking action and doing things differently, that changes things. So that came to mind when you were talking.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then let's go back into the negative real quick. Here, I work at the post office, sorting with these machines that are loud and it disrupt our shows all the time. But I came across a magazine cover from the Smithsonian magazine, and on the cover it says "Born to be Bad," and it's about the new science of morality. And that cover picture is a little baby with horns playing with a pitchfork like it's a rattle. So that's the new science of morality. Born to be bad. Babies. So this is what's being put out there. Babies with horns and pitchforks.
Unbelievable. Trying to skew people into thinking that's what human nature actually is. That we're somehow born flawed or born evil. And that's not what human nature is at all. We may be born into horrible
responsibility out of the people.
Yep. And we may be born into horrible conditions, but even that's no excuse for condoning violence and theft. The truth is always there. Everybody knows what wrongdoing is because they've been on the receiving end of it. And they know what it feels like, and therefore, that it's wrong to do that to others. And that's all it really comes down to. And we have to stop making excuses for people. Ivan, phenomenal call as always, my friend. You have a great new year.
All right, you too, Mark. And I look forward to seeing you in April, but I'm sure we'll talk plenty of times before then.
Definitely. You take care, my friend.
All right, you too. Bye.
Great. Let's go to another caller. Caller from the 905 area code. You are live on What on Earth is Happening. Welcome.
Hello?
Yes. What's your name?
Hey, Mark. This is Lucas from Canada.
Lucas.
Ontario, Canada.
Welcome.
Yep. Thanks. And I asked two people this social experiment.
Okay.
And they both know about the New World Order and the control system that's around us. And the first individual that I asked about, first word that came to mind when you say no rulers,
yes,
you said freedom.
Okay.
And the second one, anarchy, was chaos.
Right. So
now,
he's still in that internal state of contradiction because he does not know the true meaning of the word anarchy. So did you reveal the meaning of the word through the etymology to him?
Oh, yeah. Yep. I said,
what was his response?
Well, he says that's basically the contrary of what everyone in society thinks. Anyone who he basically came into contact with.
Because that's a mind control technique through the obfuscation of the real definition of a word. Did he accept that that's what the word anarchy really does mean? No rulers, no masters?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It shows you that this contradiction exists even in people that are already aware that they're living in a control system because they don't understand how powerful the obfuscation of definitions are, how powerful that is as a mind control technique.
And the second individual that I decided to ask was, in Toronto, Ontario, he's like a pretty, I guess, respected alternative media journalist or a whistleblower, I guess you can call him. And I asked him first, what's the first word that comes to mind with no masters? And he said, bullshit. He said, any group dynamic works like that, and there's always going to be someone who ends up on the top.
Yeah, he's creating hell, along with many other people. Doesn't realize it, but that mindset is the generator of hell. You can let him know I said that too. That very mindset is what generates a prison. That's where we're at. Enjoy. That's what I would tell somebody like that. Your mindset, and because more people like you have that same mindset, that's why we're living in a cage. Thanks. That's what I would tell him.
Right.
Unbelievable.
And the second one, when I asked him about anarchy, he also said bullshit. He said no such thing can exist. You might as well be talking about dragons, fairies, and unicorns. It's a nice theory.
You know when it'll exist? I'm going to tell you when it's going to exist. When there's no more people like that person in the world, then it will exist. Chew on that. Let him chew on that. That's exactly when it will exist. And that state is going to exist. It's going to happen. Nothing can hold it back from happening. You want to know why? And you could tell him I said this. Because that's God's will. That's what God's will is that true anarchy come into being in the physical domain. As a matter of fact, it already is in existence, and it was put there by the Creator. Mm-hmm. The thing is, it's the will of creation that humanity goes back to living in that natural state. And this little peon actually believes him and other idiots like him can thwart the will of God. He believes that. He believes his ego is stronger than all of creation combined. He's going to find out how wrong he is. He may live to find out how wrong he is. I'd like you to tell him that I said that I told him that. Because again, with somebody like this, you're never going to convince them or get them to see the truth. They just need to hear, you will be here to see how wrong you are. Your consciousness will exist to find out the depth of your wrongfulness, the depth of your transgression against right, and the depth of your illusion. Your consciousness will be here to find that out. You will know it, whether it's in this lifetime, this reality, this incarnation, or another. You will be experiencing the truth that your ego is not more powerful than the will of creation. So, good luck with that, man. I mean, again, he's a perfect slave. Let me tell you what he is. The occultists, the dark occultists I work with have a name for him. They have a name for him. Like I told people, they call people the dead. That's their name for the general, totally asleep member of the population. Just as in general, they call the population the dead. Okay? They have a specific name for somebody like that who is so totally wrapped up in the aggression ideology, and that it must always be like that, and that there must always be masters and slaves, and that anarchy is impossible to achieve. Okay, they have a name for him because that is the end result of the perfection of their mind control techniques, and the name for him that Satanists, dark Luciferians, dark occultists call that individual is the new man. That's their name for him. They have a special term. They call this individual the new man. It is their creation. They have made something that the Creator didn't make. They made it as the gods of this planet. They made this ball of sewage that they fashion into a golem, okay, and imbue it with thoughts that aren't its own, and tell it what is and what isn't, and it accepts like a computer program. This golem creature, this complete ball of sewage that they've molded like clay. And that's what he is. He's the new man, according to the dark occult. That's a term. Understand that term. That's essentially what it is. You can do research on it too. Other people have brought this out. I've directly, enacted with people who have used that term as Satanists, telling people we are making the new man. He is being made as we speak in society. That is what they call him. He is their new man because they made him. For all intents and purposes, that's what the powers of a god, small g, are. You can make someone in your image and likeness. And they've made him in their image and likeness at a much, much lower and less powerful level. But His mindset is the baby-fied version, the little miniaturized version of their mindset. And they made him, and they call him their new man. And that's what he is. Sad.
All right. I'll be sure to tell him.
Sure. Please do.
And I asked him, well, do you mind if I expand on this a little bit more?
Sure.
Okay. I asked him, what is the reasons why you feel anarchy would not work? And he said, basically, how would everyone get along when there's no one, basically telling people what to do?
Because he has no imagination.
How would megastructures be built?
No imagination as to how human beings could accomplish anything. No. Masters have to tell us everything that we need to do in life. Yeah. Yep. You want to know the real reason? That's the reason he told you. But let me tell you this, and you can tell him this or let him listen to this show. Okay? Mm-hmm. The real reason he does not believe, quote unquote, or accept that this could be. Here's the real psychological underlying reason. The real reason is because he hates himself. That's the real reason. He looks at himself as a slave. And in his own subconscious, he feels slavery is all he is worthy of. And therefore, so must everyone else live in that condition. Ultimately, self-loathing is the reason why anyone thinks that way. He hates himself. And you can tell him I said so, or let him listen to this show.
Okay. And just want to touch one other point here. I got into a bit of an argument or a debate with someone who is a facilitator in one of the Occupy Toronto movements.
Okay.
And I got into an argument with him about he was trying to advocate more gun registration, so like more gun restrictions.
Because most of these people are leftists, and they have socialist leanings and think that the state should be in control of everything, and it's a very hairy field of endeavor when you're dealing with the occupiers. Some of them get it. Very few and far in between. Most of them are very ignorant and lack knowledge and don't really have a long view of history. It's a shame. They really not studied in history very much at all. And they don't understand what historically happens when guns are confiscated in any given vicinity. You're creating victim disarmament, and then a government can run roughshod all over the people. And it happens over and over and over and over again, and there's thousands of historical accounts for it, and yet these people just turn a blind eye because they want to believe that they can do what they want.
It was actually when I posted the video of Innocence Betrayed that he commented on.
And he probably didn't even watch it. He probably didn't even watch it. How are you going to even debate that? This happened to the Armenians, to the Russians, to the German people. How are you going to even debate this in Rwanda, in Cambodia, in Chile? Everywhere where gun control has ever been passed, it has been followed by a genocide. Historically, everyone. And yet these people are still going to argue that the world is some way magically that they think it is when it is not that way.
And here's a couple of points that I like to...
This person's a child who has no long view of history. He's stupid. And that's all I'm telling. I don't have patience for this. That's all I tell people. You're dumb. You're unread. You're dumb. You're unread. You're an unread person. You have no long view of history. You don't read enough books. Go read more books. That's what I tell people like that. I don't even waste my breath arguing with them. They're a dumb person. A dumb person's not capable of creating any change. He thinks he's going to go and change the world as a part of the Occupy movement. He doesn't understand something like that. Retarded. Slowed down. Because he doesn't read enough.
And some of the justifications that he was trying to use were some points that you actually talked about in some of your previous shows. So first I said, no one has the right to disarm someone's last means of defense, for self-protection, right? Because that's an inherent birthright.
Right. And
he says you confuse instincts with rights.
No.
He's basically saying
what he doesn't understand is what property is, and he is an advocate of theft of property. He believes also that certain people have special rights. And I tell people, please explain to me how anyone gets a right that I don't have. If this person over here can carry and wield that weapon and own it, how can I not? And no one can explain this mechanism to me. Maybe someone will enlighten me in the future. How can a right be born into existence that someone else doesn't have? Either every single individual has the right or no one has it. And they're all the same. There's no special rights for special individuals. Every single person has the same exact rights. And he doesn't get that. He doesn't understand that because he's an advocate of theft. And that's all he is, a simple advocate of theft. He's condoning violence, and he doesn't get it. That gun control is gun violence. It's people coming with guns saying, give me your guns.
He said he's a pacifist. That's what he said.
Another sickening, deplorable ideology. That if anybody is I don't even want to hear from pacifists. I mean, if you, that, again, this is more self-loathing. If you hate yourself so much that you would say, I'd rather be killed than defend myself with force, I don't even know what you are. You're not a human being. You're some kind of a degraded animal. I mean, imagine this ideology, this sick, twisted ideology of self-loathing called pacifism. You have to be joking. Joking. You're going to sit there and take violence conducted to you? You're going to try to curl up into a ball? You're going to run away like a little boy? Please, grow up and grow a pair. You know, I mean, that's all I would say to him. You know, he doesn't care about himself or his rights or anybody else's rights. There's no self-love. It's all self-loathing. Self-loathing. Well, thanks for the call. Great points that you brought up. I'm going to take one more caller before we end the show. Here we go. I think this is Jay Parker in Philadelphia. Jay, you can take us out.
Yes, great show, Mark, and Happy New Year. And really looking forward to the marathon on American Freedom Radio on the 13th of January.
Definitely. I know you'll be
for the Freedom Mind Conference.
That's right. Jay will definitely be
definitely going to send out some really interesting points and get people to start thinking. This all comes down to the basic control of information through the school systems and religion.
Absolutely.
And as long as you program people with the big lie, then you get what we've got.
That's right. Jay, thanks so much for the call. Great way to take us out on this edition of What on Earth is Happening. That's all the time we have this week, folks. Remember, there's only 2 mistakes you can ever make on the path to truth. Not starting and not going all the way. We'll see you here next week. Happy New Year.